All right. Welcome to a Wife Masterclass where great wives become even greater. I'm your girl, Gail Crowder, and I am so excited about tonight's masterclass. If you guys tuned into Wife Masterclass in the fall, you know we welcomed our first male into masterclass, and it was amazing. Like I said, my mailbox was inundated, and we got so many questions. So many wives got breakthroughs just listening to a male's perspective. And so when I was doing prayer and I said, God, I want to welcome my first couple to Masterclass. Where do I go? And the Lenzys came to mind. I just love their story. I follow them on Facebook. They don't know I stalk them, but I do. And so I was like, God, okay, I'll get them again. And his wife is just as phenomenal as Adonis is. And so tonight I am super excited to have Pastor Adonis and Heather Lenzy join us in Masterclass. And tonight they're going to be talking about the 3 keys to marriage success. And you guys know me, I am on a mission to eradicate divorce. Am I able to save every marriage? You know, I would be remiss to say that, but I will say that God has allowed me to touch thousands of marriages around the world through Masterclass, through BSB, through so many opportunities. And so I don't take it for granted, but I always have been committed to bringing the best of the best in front of you guys. And I believe these anointed people of God are the best of the best. And so they're going to pour into you guys. If you are joining us in the Zoom chat or on Facebook, go tell a friend, go say, hey girl, you need to hop on here because they're going to drop some wisdom on us tonight. And just spread the word that Masterclass is going on. And we have 2 amazing Masterclass lined up after this one. And then we will be calling it quits for the spring. So take advantage of this. I send out the replays, and you can go on Facebook and look at the replays and that kind of things. So again, I'm super excited to have the Lenzys. I don't want to waste any more of their time in Masterclass, but I do want to open up in prayer because I believe when we cover things in prayer and invite God into anything that we do here at Gail Crowder Inc., that he touches, he removes, he restores, he revives, he does everything that he needs to do. So Father God, I just thank you, Father God, for these anointed vessels that you have that are going to pour into these wives from all over the world. I thank you, Father God, that you give us ears to hear, eyes to see, Father God, and that you open up our hearts to receive the information. Use them, Father God, from the top of their heads to the soles of their feet. Allow them just to pour in like never before. We ask for double blessings for them saying yes to the vision, Father God. And I just give you praise. I give you glory in your precious holy name. Amen. So Heather and Adonis, welcome to Wife Masterclass. I'm so glad you guys decided to join us. And for you guys that are not actually in the chat, you missed their son. I think he's going to be better than both of them. Anyway, but in my opinion. And so welcome to Masterclass, you guys.
Thank you for having us. I'm happy to join you. I know I kind of listened in when Adonis spoke last time, so I'm happy to join too.
Yeah, she was listening in. So now she's in the game right now.
She's in the game, yeah. I needed her in the game for this, right? Because you know it's very sometimes, you know, being married, right, and really having a successful marriage. I have been blessed to be married for 29 years. It has not been easy, right? I've been married most of my life.
Wow! Congratulations on.
Yeah, and so July the 20th will be 30 years. So whoop, whoop, I'm expecting something like some big, right? Gil's like, this was it. I was like, no, I need something grand. But I'm past material things. I look more at the intimacy part and the togetherness, because we hadn't always had that. And so you guys can tell them a little bit more about themselves. Like I said, we will be posting their website, all their resources, all those things. So look for those things to be posted. And if they have anything special to offer you guys at the end, be open to and bless these people like never before. So you guys go ahead and take control of Masterclass.
All right. Well, thank you, Gail. It's always a privilege and an honor to be sharing on any platform about marriage and relationships. And so we just feel honored and blessed to be a part of this tonight. So thank you for inviting us to be a part of it. And so we're just going to jump right into it. Tonight, we're going to be talking about 3 keys to marriage success, or 3 keys to relationship success. And so we're going to touch on a few points here. But we do, just to start you guys off, we do have something on our website, the full CD, where we do a huge teaching about, we go into in-depth and a lot of funny stories and stuff like that. So, once again, I'm Adonis Lenzy. This is my amazing wife, Heather Lenzy. And so part of our ministry, as well as ministering to singles, we wrote a dating book together. That's where it all kind of really started. In the dating book, we talk about marriage stuff as well. And so we ended up doing some marriage conferences somewhere down the road. And so, but tonight we want to just share with you guys real quickly 3 keys that will help you have a successful marriage. And so, and I love what you said, marriage is not easy. I say it this way, it's for adults only. Okay. Marriage is for adults only. And so we'll let Heather start off with the first key. And these are real crucial. These are things that we used in our dating relationship, and they went over into our marriage relationship as well. And these are things that we hold on to that kind of keep us balanced and keep us solid. And once again, no marriage is perfect, and we're not on here trying to say we're perfect at it. I think we're still learning too as we grow along. We just celebrated how many years?
10 years.
10 years. We just celebrated this past February. So that was exciting, 10 years. And we still like each other. Okay, yes. We know we're commanded to love one another, but we still like each other. And so, but these are things that we're going to start off with real quick, and I'll just let Heather jump in there.
Okay.
And share the first key.
The first key is accountability, and I'm just going to read scripture, Hebrews 13:17. Have confidence in your leaders and submit to their authority, because they keep watch over you as those who must give an account. Do this so that their work will be a joy, not a burden, for that would be of no benefit to you. And I read that because when we were dating, I'm going to rewind a little bit back, and then I'll bring it all together here. But when we were dating, we both had been in some failed relationships, and we were looking for something different. Yeah. We wanted our dating to be different. So the first thing that we did was we went to our pastors, because just like anything else, you submit, we had submitted already to God our next relationships, but we went to our pastors when we knew that we liked each other, and we asked them to kind of step in and help us with our dating and help us see areas that we couldn't see. Things that, when you first get into a relationship, everything is all fun and exciting, and we call emotional blinders, things that we put on when your emotions are all strong, and sometimes you don't see the red flags or the yellow flags. So we just asked someone to step in and help. And I said that because that opened up, or that showed us some really big things in our dating, and it guided us through our dating. If we, hit a roadblock in our dating, we would go back to our authority and say, this is what's going on. How can you help us? And it was in that time that we learned that, we are in a relationship, but this relationship still needs authority. And it was later on in our marriage that we realized that we had used that as spiritual authority and gone to them, that we realized that in marriage, you can take that same principle and have that same principle in marriage, that you can have accountability partners for your marriage, just like we did when we were dating, because you're going to run into areas in your marriage that, a lot of things you can resolve with each other. Yeah. A lot of things you can take to God and ask God to help change their heart, change your heart. But sometimes you just need a couple, a good, godly couple that you both trust. Yeah, it's key right there. That is for your marriage. That is not just for him, not just for me, but for your marriage. A good, godly couple that you can trust, that you can go to and say, hey, you know, we're struggling and we're having a problem with this in our marriage. Can you just give us some guidance? Not someone where like women, we sometimes tend to get angry and then go to our girlfriends and talk bad about our spouse, things like that.
I didn't say that.
You.
She said that.
I said that because we're emotional. Women are emotional. And so that just helps us to give a safe place where you can go and talk to somebody, seek counsel from somebody, and just have another authority over over your marriage.
And I think, like what Heather said, that is so key.
Before you move on, Heather, and I'm sorry, I want to jump in because I know there is some women all over the world, for one, that don't have a church home, right? They don't have a place, or they've been hurt by church people, folks, you know? So, and sometimes we have couples in our lives, but their marriage is raggeder than ours, right? So what do you suggest that people do if you're in a situation where you don't trust the pastor, right? Or someone in the church because you've been hurt by them, or you have confided in them, and then your business is all over the church. Because let's get real, it happens with church people. And I'm not church people because I'm one of them. But what I'm saying is that there is some people that have been hurt, or they're unchurched at this moment because they have been hurt, right? Or the people that they have in their life at this time, right? Their marriages are struggling too. So what would be the suggestion that you would give someone if they're in that situation, if you have one? Because I have one, but I want you guys to have one.
I do. So my suggestion, or I guess our suggestion, would be look for couples that their marriage is successful. Couples that you see that something that you would want your marriage to look like. Whether it's friends, whether it's coworkers, it's someone who they have a successful marriage. It's the same thing, like we even do this with our kids. If we're in a stage with our kids that we're struggling, we look for other parents that say they have success, they've raised successful kids. That's who you go to. So it doesn't have to be someone in church. It just has to be a couple that you see, even if it's your parents. If you feel like your parents have a successful marriage and you feel like that's a safe place for both of you, that your parents are not going to be biased towards one of you or the other, that's also a good thing. But just find a couple that has a successful marriage. Don't go to your girlfriend who is struggling in her own relationship, or to a couple who is struggling in their relationship. Find someone that their marriage reflects what you want your marriage to look like.
Yeah, absolutely. And I don't think it takes you long to figure out, especially if somebody, if their marriage is not good and they've got that track pattern or that track record behind them, and you can really see it. It won't take you long to figure out, okay, that's not a good couple that I want to go in and be vulnerable with. And that's the thing. A lot of people, once you've been hurt, sometimes it takes a while to find that person that you can feel very comfortable with, but that couple's out there. And so it could be a neighbor. It could be somebody that, your spirit just connects with, and you feel, God's giving you that peace. I think that's one thing you've got to really look for, is that peace that you get in your spirit, or your gut, with a gut feeling, that you can be a little open and honest with that person. And so, it doesn't have to be everybody. You don't need to, have 20 people that you're accountable to when it's your marriage. But once you find that one good couple, that's a couple that you have to be open and honest with, and trust God for the rest.
Okay. All right.
Great question, though. That's good, because a lot of people, I definitely agree. Some people have been hurt within the church. Some people have been burned once or twice, and they're like, you know what, I'm going to wait before I open up my mouth about anything. But, if you never reach out for help, Gail, that's where you get into worse trouble. And, let's face it, you got to be honest, too. If you've been trying to fix your own marriage for a while now and nothing's changing, you SOS. You better reach out for some help quickly, because there's people that are around you that can see from 50,000 feet above, and they can help you guys navigate through some things that you're going through. All right, we're good? All right, guys, we'll keep going on. That was number one. Just, find couples that you can be accountable to, that are partnering with you to help you throughout the everyday ups and downs of marriage altogether. And so, and also you want to, I think it's good too to have a couple that, when your marriage is at a successful point, you want to reach back and help other marriages as well. So I think you got to keep that. Okay, the second thing is navigating conflict. This is the big one here. This is the one that it can make or break your marriage. And we learned early on in our dating how to navigate conflict. We did a lot of, believe it or not, we did a lot of fighting and arguing in our dating, trying to figure out were we the right ones for each other. And so we took some personality profile tests. And usually people take those, when they are applying for a job or to see if they're a right fit at this job, or we should do them in ministry as well to see if I'm a good fit for this ministry team. And so Heather and I took some personality profiles that taught us how to communicate to one another. It taught us about ourselves, okay? And so, for instance, with me, Heather learned that she can't just spring something on me all of a sudden. I'm a planner, and she can't just come on one day and say, "Hey, let's go to New York." Okay, I'm like, "Whoa, wait a minute, put the brakes on," things like that. And so I'm a planner, and so with her, I learned about her personality and things like that. And so I have to, when there's something that, I feel like we should be doing or whatever, I can't just use, I'm the priest of the home. We're going to do whatever I say do. But it's more or less because her personality, she doesn't like to be told what to do. And so, and she told me that day one. And so I learned that right off the bat. Yeah. And so with that, I learned how to communicate to her. And I think that's a great gift when we can learn how to communicate to one another. When we learn certain communication styles will kind of make the aggravation worse. That is key. And I think as husband and wife, when you begin to sit down and maybe go through some personality profiles, maybe sit down and really begin to talk to each other and say, well, when you said that, this is how I felt. And I think you've got to be open with one another. I think especially with men, we've got to swallow that pride and have those conversations with our wives when we get into some conflict, or maybe when something happens. And as a man, sometimes we don't want to come out and say anything. We just hold it on the inside. And I think that's the worst thing you can do when you hold something on the inside, and then there's a big blow up of something that happened 2 weeks ago that she's already forgotten about, but you've carried it around for 2 weeks, and all of a sudden you blow up. And so I think when you hit those moments of conflict, I think the first thing you should do is realize you're on the same team. And that's one of the things that we really live by with our marriage. We understand that we are on the same team. Nobody wins, nobody loses. We're on the same team. So I can't sit there and say, okay, well, we went with my idea, so I won. No, it's we win together or we lose together. And so that's the thing that kind of keeps us, I think, well balanced. We realize we're on the same team when we're communicating with one another. Another little thing too, when we do communicate to one another, we have to watch our tone, because when you say something and then you get loud, and then if she gets loud, then we're back and forth, and before an argument can start just like that. We know that. Mm-hmm. And so we have to watch our tones with each other as well, and just realize that once again, we're on the same team. Nobody is that mad at one another, and we can talk this thing out. We just learned early on that the more you just put it all out on the table, whether feelings get hurt or whatever that is, at least you're being honest. One of the things I like to say.
I have a question for you, and then I want to, I just did a Facebook Live on Tuesday about how to deal with a verbally abusive spouse, right? And like I said, I get a chance to coach probably 15 to 20 wives a week, right? That's what I do all day, full time, right? And conflict resolution is one of the biggest things that can make or break a marriage, right? And so when you say that nobody wins in the argument, I agree with you. But I am finding that Either you have a personality type like myself and Heather, you're my girl, because I don't like to be told anything, right? But I grew up in a household where I was told that don't let no man rule over me, right? I grew up in a household with very strong women, dominant personalities. I think in another life I might have been a dude because I think a lot like God. And so, no, I'm being honest with you. And so I come from a very, very strong willed type of woman, right? And so at least you guys took the personality test. Gil and I didn't, right? And so I literally killed our marriage the first 7 to 9 years. I was out of control because everything he said don't do, I did it because I didn't think he putting me in my place, right? So that submission word was very difficult for me, and I have not arrived in that area. So, but when it comes to communication, right? Do you? I went and took a communication class last month, right? At a college because I really want to be able to help my clients with communication, right? And when you're dealing with a spouse, whether it's the woman or the man that is verbally abusive or it just has blanked out and stopped listening, and they're saying things to push your buttons to start that argument. How do you guys navigate against that? And I thank you for even thinking about getting people, even now that they're married, to take a personality test. Now, there will be some couples that are listening to this that will go ahead and do it, but then it could be just a wife that goes to do it to find out what type of personality she has. And I would suggest that anybody that's watching this, that you go do that, because that is an amazing, amazing test. And like you said, I've taken it, when I worked in the corporate world, but I have not taken it for my personal self, to see how it applies to my marriage. So that's an amazing, amazing tip. But how do you navigate when you have someone that is, being verbally abusive or likes to argue or does the opposite and just shuts down? And that's abusive too when they're not communicating at all.
Yeah. I'm going to take this because I think one of the things we learned with navigating conflict is, and I always say this, we learned early on there's typically two types of people or personalities with arguing. For instance, I learned that Adonis is a stewer. When he's upset about something, he shuts down. He's quiet, he stews. And I tend to be more of a spewer. When I'm mad, when something is bothering me, it comes out of my mouth. And then I'm done. I'm done with it. And
see, I have to process because I have to communicate correctly. Yes. And not escalate the situation.
And I just communicate and it all comes out. But then when I'm done, I'm done. And so I've learned, I think the first thing is dispute. I think the first thing is to recognize what you are yourself, to recognize that I'm a spewer. So when I get into that situation and I may be the one that's verbally abusive, or I may be the one that's saying something mean to Adonis, that I need to recognize that's who I am. So I need to take control of myself first and remind myself that that is not really what you're saying, what you want to communicate. I'm speaking out in anger. Now, I'm not perfect and I don't catch myself every time, but it starts with telling myself, you know what, this is why I'm upset, because usually when you're upset, it's because you're hurt. You're speaking out in anger, it's because you're hurt by something. So I have to stop and back up and think, okay, why am I really angry? What is the root cause of this? Why am I hurt? And then, but at the same time, you also have to know your spouse, and you have to know that the more he's quiet, it used to be the more he was quiet, the angrier I would get, because I'm thinking, well, just talk to me. Let's just fight this out and be done, because I don't want to sit on this all night or a day or 2 days. I just want to just get it all out and be done. But I had to realize that he's a processor and he needs the time to process. So I think once you recognize those things about yourself and work on changing yourself, that helps. But then also recognizing what your spouse is, and then you can't change them. That's the thing. When you say what to do, the only thing that you can do is change yourself. If somebody is verbally abusive to you, the only thing you can do is change yourself. You can either deal with it, or you can, the old saying, kill him with kindness. And that means that you have to bite your tongue. You have to speak words of love to them, even when they're in the moment of not speaking words of love to you, speaking words of love to them, or even recognizing that, you know what, it's best I walk away from this situation.
Yeah. And I think also in that situation, because, verbal abuse is just as bad as physical abuse, because it can weigh you down. It can beat you down, your soul down, to the point of you think that you're nothing. And so with that, I think, I think there's a cry out for help. Number one, just depending on to the degree of the verbal abuse and how long that's been going on. And if you see no signs of change, in the person who's causing the verbal abuse, I think there could be, I don't want to say an ultimatum, but at least go to that person and say, look here, I've been putting up with this for X amount of time, months or years. And if something doesn't change, then our marriage is in trouble. You have to be honest with that person.
And you have to take what I coach my clients through when they have that explosive behavior, or like Heather and I own that, right? Is I had to start doing what I call the 3-step process, right? First of all, I had to step back and start counting to 10 to take myself off of 100. Yeah. And I say, Gail, do you have to address this right now? Because my husband is also a processor, right? And Gail, what you're about to say to Gail, is this, would you want it said back to you, right? I have to take that step back, because even though you can apologize afterwards, you still say words, and the person is still not going to forget. They will forgive you, but they're not going to forget. So I had to learn. Now, do I miss it? Absolutely, because that was ingrained in me, right? But do I do that? And I'm like, okay, let me take a step back. Let me count to 10. Sometimes I have to go to 20, right? And then I have to say, Gail, do you have to address this? Do you have to fight this battle right now? And if what you're about to say, would you want Gail to say it back to you? And most of the time, I step back, and then I can have another conversation that's going to turn out a lot better. And again, I can not change Gail. I can only change Gail.
Yeah, and you can change the situation, or you can change the outcome of what could have been. Even a bad outcome. But I think once again, it's, as Heather was saying, you do have control over yourself. But also once again, going back to that, let's go to the far side of the spectrum. Once again, if that's a very physical, verbally abusive, then it's, I think you have to decide, when do you want to reach out for help? Yes. In that situation, and that's once again, going back to some type of accountability partner or somebody that you trust, that can help you in that situation, for sure.
Okay. All right.
All righty. So that's so point number one. We'll just recap real quick. Point number one. Key number one was accountability. Find a good couple out there that has a successful marriage, and let them help you navigate through some ups and downs of your own marriage, and that's somebody that you can trust. Key number two is learn how to communicate and navigate conflict. We fight well together. And I think that's a good statement when you understand that you are going to fight in marriage. So why not learn how to fight well together, to where everybody comes out winning, and nobody gets their way. It's our way. And if we can keep that at the center of any argument or conflict, because we got to understand, it's like when conflict comes in, it's only there, its assignment is to divide you, and it's funny how the littlest things will divide us for a day or for a week. And it's something so silly and minute, but we've got to be, better than the devil. We've got to be smarter than the devil and understand that, hey, wait a minute. Okay, this little thing, it'll cause a little irritation, but let's fight good together. and we can get through this. So that's navigating conflict. And then Heather's going to take us home with key number 3.
Key number 3, loving yourself first. I know everyone says that you have to love yourself, you have to love yourself, but you really do. You have to love yourself first, so you can not only give love, but you can receive love, because that's important. You need to be able to, we all know God loves us, but if some of us just need to know God loves us, and we need to just love ourselves. Even if that's something like, if you don't, for ladies, we pick apart every single little thing about ourselves. You can have some woman that you think she has it all together. She's beautiful. I wish I had this. I wish I had that she has. But you know what? You have to love yourself and do whatever it takes to make that happen, because your spouse cannot they cannot fill that void for you of love. You have to love yourself first and know that you are a child of God, and that whatever you have to do, whether that's if you're feeling like, I need a new hairdo, or I need to go and work out, or I need to eat better. Whatever it is, you need to make it happen. I know with everything in society today, it's hard for women. It's hard for men too, but it's hard for women because we see what we're supposed to be like, look like, be like, dress like, everything. And I think what it's all about is you have to be happy with yourself. And once you're happy with yourself, we're not going to be perfect. We're going to have days where we don't feel the best. But I think if we have that foundation of loving ourselves, it's only then that we can love our spouse and that we can receive the love from our spouse.
And, like Heather said, I think that is so key, because, when one of the, whether it's the man or the woman, when they start feeling, down about themselves, maybe self-image, whatever it is, and they're just not happy with themselves, it translates into the marriage as well. Mm-hmm. And then there's almost like this pull away from one another, and because somebody's not happy with themselves. And that's where you got to really find number 1. I think that's going back to your relationship with God, and understand that you are a child of God, that, even if you've made a mistake or whatever that is, it's like, man, you've got to receive the grace of God and receive that and get back into a state of being okay with you. Because if you got this internal conflict going on, it's like you're fighting within yourself, and it translates into, all of a sudden there's like an abrasion in the marriage. There's like the spouse starts noticing, hey, babe, you've been kind of distant lately. That could be because you're pulling away to deal with your internal conflict. Or like Heather said, especially with, men, I guess, men, we don't care as much. I don't know, but it's, with the women part of it, it's like, I've noticed even with Heather, it's like Heather is very watchful of what we eat and just health conscious. But there's been times where, I'm like, babe, you look good, and she wasn't happy with a certain size or whatever that was. But it's like, no, you look great, And so, but you don't want to get into that internal conflict where you pull away because you're not happy with you.
And he can tell me all he wants that I look great, but if I don't feel great about myself, if I don't feel like I look great, then his words don't mean anything to me. And that also can cause a problem too, because then he's feeling like I'm rejecting his compliment. And I think
turn out the lights.
Well, let me just say this. I am so glad that Heather said that, because again, I get a chance to talk to women from all over the world, and I actually am going to be starting a program on May 1st called Loving Him Without Losing You, right? And it really deals with the issues that we face as wives, because we lose ourselves and we lose our self-esteem because we're inundated by media about what is the perfect body size and how come I don't have this big butt or this, small waist, and we don't have all of these things, right? And we do put a lot of stress on ourselves because, after pushing out kids and sickness and all, so many different things. We face so much. And when a man gains weight or whatever, they say he's mature and well. If a woman gains weight, she didn't let herself go. Or, all of those different things, right? And so it is a lot of pressure. It's a lot of pressure being a woman. It's a lot of pressure aging as a woman. It's a lot of pressure, especially if you're dealing with a spouse that is not supportive. At least Adonis says you look beautiful and all those kind of things. And even if you don't feel it, he still feels that way. There are some women that I deal with that their husbands don't support them, but they just pushed out a kid, 6 months ago, and they gained 40 pounds, right? But they wanted a healthy baby, but then they want them to go back to whatever size they were. I mean, sometimes your body just doesn't react the way you want it to react, right? So there's a lot of different things, like, for a year up until last month, I was on steroids nonstop since my car accident. And since, so I put on 40 pounds. That's a lot of weight, but I can't exercise, right? So what I had to do was try to modify my eating. But you people who've been on steroids understand that you could blow up, right? I could have put on 150 pounds, right? So, but it's a lot going on. So in my mind, right, it's like I own the trademark to One Sexy Wife with 40 extra pounds. Like, that's a lot, right? And so it's a lot to deal with. No, but it's a lot to deal with. Gil understood what was going on with me because I'm constantly communicating, right? And I can't do any jarring exercises and all, it's a lot of stuff. And I didn't work with physical therapy. I've been like crazy. But like Heather said, you got to get to the point where you accept. I know in my right mind where the weight came from. I wasn't sitting up eating bonbons all day, right? But I know that I was in a car accident and I was immobile for 3 months, right? But in my mind, I got to get back, But how do you do that, right? And stay sexy, stay confident, and know your worth and all the things that God has said that I'm supposed to do. That's hard, And so I appreciate you being supportive of your wife, but there are women that are not in a situation. And how do you navigate that? And how do you stay positive? And how do you press forward, right, when you are hearing all of these negative things? How do you press forward?
Well, I think if it's a woman that's in a marriage and hearing that from a husband, once again, I think you go back to the when we were talking about the navigating conflict.
Yes.
And you have to be honest with him. And once again, it's like, babe, when you're talking to me like that, this hurts me. And this is emotional state that I'm already dealing with, and you're adding to that. And so you have to try to lay out a game plan to where it's like, hey, well, how can you jump on board with me? Because this is my struggle, and I don't need you to be my enemy. I need you to be my partner. And so I think it's having those honest conversations with that. I think it's also now if it's somebody in a dating relationship, I think to me that's a different situation, because if you're just dating the person, if you're dating the guy and he's to me that's still verbal abusive. If you're struggling with a complex or whatever, and he's adding to that, then that could be an indicator that, he may not be for you. Because right now, he's not for you.
All looking at the surface, right? When you get married, it's a whole different ball game.
Exactly. And so in a dating relationship, I think you can look at that differently and like, okay, wait, these are good indicators that, I may not want to spend the rest of my life with this person, because different seasons, things will change within your body or just different emotional states. So I think that's a yellow flag. That could be a red flag that says, no, this is not the person for you. In a marriage, it's like you're in it to win it. So it's going to your partner. In marriage, and said, hey, this is what I'm struggling with, And we've hit that moment. Not that I was being verbally abusive or anything like that. Heather's had to tell me, oftentimes, do you know what I'm struggling with? And they're like, no, babe, I had no idea you were struggling with that. And sometimes
we do assume that you guys know.
Exactly.
And so we have to be able to articulate. But sometimes, I'm just telling you, as a woman, it's very hard to articulate it because you trying to process it yourself. If that's sense.
And I
So
get
it is
that.
very hard, but we do need to tell you, but we need to be able to articulate it where you understand. Like the other day, Gil's like, what's wrong? And I'm like, I'm not feeling good. And his thing was, what's hurting you? I'm like, nothing. I just don't feel good. And so to him, you guys process totally different. If I was to tell Heather I'm not feeling good, she probably like, oh, maybe her hormones is going. Maybe, she got a lot on her mind. See, men don't process the way we process, because his thing is, for you not to feel good, is it your stomach, your head, your toe? You know what I mean? That's how he processes. And I'm like, I just don't feel good, but I don't know why I don't feel good, right? I don't have anything hurting me. I just don't feel good. And his thing was, we'll take some Pepto-Bismol. Pepto-Bismol is for my stomach. I don't, you know what I mean? So you guys process totally different. So sometimes it is hard for us to articulate what is really going on when it's all emotional and it could be hormonal. So just to let you know.
Absolutely, we get it.
And I think another thing, where you talk about loving yourself first, sometimes we as women, we get so busy, tending to our children, our home, things like that, that we're not taking time out for us and doing things that make us happy.
Yeah.
And sometimes you just have to communicate with your spouse that, you know what, I just need some time for me. Whether that, like Adonis said, we try to eat healthy, but for me, I'm always watching my weight. And if my weight's up, then I don't feel good about myself. If my weight's down, I feel good about myself. And that's something that I still am processing and trying to, fix within myself. But sometimes I reach out to him and I say, can you just help me? Can we go to the gym? Can you just help me? Or can you give me, can you help me and let's not eat so late at night. It's just asking for, that's what your spouse is for, someone to help you. And even if that means, can you just take the kids? If you're having an emotional day or something, I had a rough day today. Can you just take care of the kids for the night? I just need to go in the room and I just need some time by myself. And I just need some time for me. I'm just asking for that, because we can't assume. I think sometimes we assume they know what we need when we say, I've had a bad day. Like we just are like, assume that they know what that means. But sometimes they just need to be told. I found with Adonis, he just needs to be told, this is what I need from you. This is how I feel, and this is what I need, or this is what would help me. And you'd be surprised by just saying that, instead of trying to mind trick them into things. Just say, this is what I need from you, the response. And vice versa, same thing. It goes both ways.
Because guys, we want to fix it. But I've learned over the years, it's like, we can't fix everything. So now I know what I can fix and what I can't fix. And I have to be okay with all of that, And so I think it's, especially if Heather's dealing with something on her own, and if I know I can't fix it, I'm not supposed to fix it. She's going through that, but I can be supportive, and when she asks me to do something, whatever that is, I think I can be supportive and coming alongside and doing that. But, guys, we get into once again, that fix-it mode. And because that's why when you tell your husband, you're not feeling good, he's like, well, take some aspirin or whatever that is, because we want to fix it quickly. But, we also, I think when you're married, when you got the communication down, you learn as you go along. And I've learned over the years of us communicating, I'm not supposed to fix it all, And so, but I'm supposed to just be there. Even if it's in silence, she knows I'm there. And so, but I think we learned that over communication. So cool.
Well, you guys, this has been amazing. I like, oh my God. I know that we're going to get some questions and stuff like that. And I believe there's 2 questions in the chat. Hold on, let me see. What would you do when your husband does not like to resolve conflict? He shuts down completely.
I think, because that happens, I know that happens. I think what it is if it's the same thing, like I call it going around the mountain again and again and again, and it's the same thing and that's the same behavior. I think as a wife, you just have to go to them and say, look, I I can't function like this. I can't live like this. Tell me what you need. Do you need a day, 2 days, 3 days? Do you need to have suggestions? Like write down how you're feeling. Suggest to your husband to write a note to you, write a letter on how he's feeling. Because at some point, those feelings, like Adonis said, they're gonna come up in some form or fashion. Or, like I said, is you're gonna just keep going around the mountain unless if you address it and say, I know you shut down. I know that's what you do, but let me help you. Figure out what we can do. Like I said, sometimes it's just as simple as making a suggestion. Write and tell me how you're feeling. Or write it and don't give it to me this time, but write something down how you're feeling and maybe next time give it to me and let me know. Because it has to be a step, and there has to be something that when someone shuts down like that, they've learned that behavior, just like I've learned a behavior to spew things. So it's a learned behavior from somewhere. Maybe he's feeling like, well, it doesn't matter if he tells you, nothing's gonna change anyway. Maybe he feels like you don't value him. I mean, it can be a whole bunch of different things that's causing him to shut down. Maybe, like I said, that's a learned behavior. Maybe that's what his dad did, or maybe that's what his mom did. But that doesn't mean that that's what he has to always do. Find ways that you can help him open that line of communication. And the thing is, I've noticed that things escalate. If someone starts, that seems to always be the pattern. Well, then the other pattern seems to be, well, this is just what he does, so I'll deal with it. This is just what he does. Like someone has to break the pattern somehow.
Yeah.
Okay, the next question is, it's hard to process what I need to say to my husband, and it has been 2 years. I bring the incident up in the back of my mind, but I eat it, even though I want the answer to the question we don't resolve. How do I approach this?
Can you, she says she's having trouble
She said
processing?
it's hard to process what I need to say to my husband, and it's been 2 years. I bring up the incident in the back of my mind, but I eat it.
Okay, so if it's been 2 years.
Answer to the question we didn't resolve. How do I approach this?
Okay, so I think if it's been 2 years and you're having trouble trying to process and communicate that to your husband, I think if it's been 2 years, I think it's okay. Once again, if you've got, going back to the accountability partners, because it could be somebody who is finding somebody you can be vulnerable with, somebody you trust with this situation, and asking them, how can I communicate this effectively? Because that's been 2 years and they're just letting it go on. And over a period of 2 years, something is festered on the inside of somebody. And then, so you got to make up in your mind, how long do I want this to just grow? Because if it's unresolved, then it's putting a wedge between you and your husband. If it's unresolved, you've not dealt with it. It's just like you just kind of sweeping it up under the rug because you don't know how to process so you can communicate effectively. So I think you've got to.
I don't know where this question came from, but I would say if you have been holding on to something for 2 years, whoever this is, you've been holding on to something for 2 years, you definitely need to get some counseling, some coaching, something, because this is something huge. It's not like you didn't take out the trash and irritating to me. Holding on to something so big for 2 years, unless you didn't write the question away. If you're holding on to something for 2 years, it must be something huge and life-changing, right? That you wasn't able to resolve in 2 years. That is a long time to hold on to something. And trust and believe me, when you hold on to something like that, it has been studies given, when you're holding in something like that, you cause yourself to get sick, ulcers, all those kind of different things. So you really need to go and talk to someone, because that's a long time. That is not something that's small. Is something irritating or something like this. It is something really big. So I really suggest that you really get some help. And I offer a free 30-minute consultation just to see if you want to talk to someone, and I'm licensed and qualified to do this. But 2 years, it is not something small that we can hash out, over this situation. This is something really big, and it can be life altering for you and your marriage. So whoever that was, hopefully this was helpful. But again, I want to tell you guys, thank you from the bottom of my heart for coming to the Wife Masterclass, pouring in. I know for a fact that you have transformed and touched marriages all over the world. They will be hanging around on Facebook, or if you have any other questions, I know Latrincy and I know Sonia, who's a man in Facebook, have posted their contact information. They have wonderful books and resources on Adonis.com, and she's going to post all of those links again for you guys. Go on there.
We'll post them too, Gail. Just real quickly, you'll find this on our website, 3 Keys to Relationship Success. It's on AdonisLenzy.com. Also, you guys heard us talk about our dating relationship. We kind of referenced that in the beginning. So this is our book called Dating in Black and White. Great stuff in there for marriages as well. Got a whole chapter on navigating conflict, and just great.
Link is in the chat for both for your book and for all your stuff. They're posting all that stuff. So you guys go check them out. Bless them. Because they have really poured in, and I appreciate you guys. If you have questions, by all means, you can definitely inbox Adonis, because I know he's on Facebook. Are you on Facebook too, Heather?
I am, yep.
Yeah, so if you want to ask her, you want to ask him, just find them, because all their stuff is being placed either on Facebook or in the chat here to find them. And if you can't find them, you know how to find me. And if you have questions for them, by all means, I will funnel it to them. Again, I thank you guys. The link to Loving Him Without Losing You is in the chat as well. Like I said, it's an 8-week program. I'm going to pour in because I know what it is to lose myself and take on everybody else's stuff and not deal with my stuff. And so again, I want to thank you guys. Next week, we are going to have Dr. Shakira in the master class. She's going to be talking about don't throw in the towel, don't give up, right? She's going to give you some amazing tools and strategies. So we will see you next week in master class. I love you guys to pieces, and thank you guys so much for joining us in master class.
Thank you.
Good night. Bye-bye.